Hello, you're listening to episode 287 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. I am delighted today to be joined by Sanjay from Spice Kitchen UK, who I heard speak at Theo Paphitis' Small Business Sunday event as part of the panel. And I was really inspired by the story. And I thought I wanted to share it with podcast listeners as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, Sanjay. It's great to have you.
Oh, no, brilliant. Thank you so much for the invitation. And I'm really excited to have a chat.
What was it like speaking at Theo's event? Was it awesome as I think it should be?
I have to say, it was a range of emotions. I mean, I haven't done loads of public speaking before, and I certainly haven't spoken in front of 1,000+ people. So I actually was pretty nervous. Some of the other panelists were much more experienced than I am. So yeah, I was a lot more nervous than I thought. But you know what? It was kind of one of those things in life which is like full of emotions. You're nervous but really exciting, kind of honored, a lot of imposter syndrome going on there as well. But yeah, really excited to share the story and sort of overwhelmed by the positive response I got afterwards from people coming up to me, and had loads of conversations since. So yeah, amazing experience.
It was so good because you were on a panel with with Maxine Laceby, weren't you, from Absolute Collagen?
Yes, and
A
also
lady,
Shalom
yes,
Lloyd from Naturally Tiva Skincare.
she was incredible.
Yeah,
I
I love
learned
both of them.
they were both amazing, and that was chaired by the lady from NatWest, Debbie Lewis, wasn't it? Who I love as well.
Yeah, no, she's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, what a great host.
Definitely. So, for those who weren't at SBS, can you tell us about Spice Kitchen, about how you started?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, I'm the co-founder of Spice Kitchen, and I say co-founder because I importantly founded it with and for my mum as a retirement hobby. So the first thing to always say is we never ever meant to be a business. This was only meant to be a small little project, shall we say, just to keep my mum occupied in her retirement. And yeah, just to kind of, she's really active. She's an amazing person and human being, and she's a real inspiration for me. She's a real entrepreneur, but sort of sitting behind there, she's got amazing skills around spices. She was born in Kenya, raised in India, so she was surrounded in this kind of quite unique way with spices, and it was part of her childhood, and obviously very much part of our kind of Indian heritage and culture. But she's also an incredible seamstress, and so combining the two things together in a very what's the word, sort of not very thought out way, shall we say, I came up with this idea on Christmas Day, actually, in 2012, after my mum was pleading for a year or so, saying, look, to my brother and sister and I, like, is there anything you can come up with that we can help with? And I came up with this silly idea that she could sell her homemade spices in a traditional spice tin. And kind of people, my brother and sister was sort of saying, what a silly idea. My mum was thinking, okay. So anyway, just to sort of prove a point, I took a picture of my mum's tin, put it on eBay, filled with spices, and put a small advert together. And we woke up on Boxing Day and we had our first sale. So that's the kind of start of the story.
Wow.
And yeah, the rest is history, as they say. But we existed as a hobby business for several years, and then the business, had these kind of amazing milestone moments whereby we sort of realized that maybe it could be bigger than we initially thought.
Mm.
And then it's as much as you want to, kind of as far as you want to take it. So yeah, loads to share in terms of the story, but that's kind of really where we started. And it's very much, as I say, it was never meant to be a business, but every day we've loved running it, and seeing it grow and flourish, and really seeing customers love what we do. So
Definitely. And I think it's a really good way to test the market. Sometimes people think they've got to have huge budgets, huge investment to even start a business. And I always say to people, like, just start at the lowest thing you can do. As in, what you did is you took a picture of your mum's spice tin, put it on eBay just to see if there's a demand for that product. And then you've got the confidence to start to kind of grow and scale. So you sold your first spice tin. When did you think this is a business? Was it a particular number, or how did that work?
I think it was definitely some sort of moments and events that we did, or things that happened. So we existed as a sort of an eBay business essentially for probably a year or so, and we were always quite surprised about the amount of sales that was just coming through eBay. And then I realized, hey, we should start looking at other platforms. So we started getting, like a lot of sort of smaller craft businesses do, other platforms like Etsy.
Mm.
Then Etsy sellers came to us and said, hey, this should be on the high street. So we opened up a conversation there and got our products listed. So we really extended the range of marketplaces we sold on. Obviously, nobody knew who we were. And then we did set up our own website on Shopify, which I'm really pleased we set up on Shopify because I think it was future proofing us for the long term rather than going on a smaller e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
But to build sort of, I guess, a customer base, we did sell on those third-party marketplaces, which inherently drove repeat orders back to our website, which is now our kind of best platform in some ways. And but then, yeah, a couple of other key things happened. We won a stand at the BBC Good Food Show, which is a really big sort of Christmas food event. They have them around the country, but the main one is in Birmingham at the NEC around November time. So back in the day, they had sort of 6 stands for up and coming producers, and we applied for that and we won a free stand. And that was a game changer. I mean, we took a load of stuff with us and we sold out in sort of the first day.
Wow.
And that was probably more than we had sold in the whole previous year. So I remember we would just came out that day going, wow. I mean, there was 80,000 people at the time coming through the doors over the 4 days. So it's a really busy event. And we've done
Gosh.
the event every year since. And so I just remember me and mum going home going, what? And then we were running around all through the night, probably 2, 3 a.m. finish, and then up at 6, one of those stories, back at the event, selling out again, whilst my dad was then packing all day long. So I just remember really stretching us, but being absolutely exhilarated and sort of meeting customers for the first time as well.
Mm.
The other thing that happened was just before the show, my mum decided to actually make a really nice display of our spice tins. She took one of her saris, she custom made like a gift wrap for it, and we probably created 10 of them on the back of the stand. On the first day, so many customers came and said, hey, can we buy that one? It's a beautiful gift. We love the display and this would be perfect for somebody. And we almost turned, well, on the first day, we turned customers away actually, because it was just for display. And then I think towards the end of the day, we did sell a couple. But we went back home and my mum was like, oh my gosh, everyone wants the ones which are wrapped. That was only meant for display. And again, little did we know that that would be where our business, where it took us. Because obviously that's one of our key sort of selling points almost of our products is this beautiful kind of sari wrapped element of each of our tins.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was again a kind of happy mistake almost. And here we are now making sort of hundreds and thousands of these wraps for the tins, which, everybody loves.
They are really beautiful. I'm looking on your website and all the different colors. They're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and because they're so handmade, and so alongside that sort of BBC Good Food event, because when we were talking about milestone moments, we then were approached by retailers in the following year. We weren't retail ready at all. One of them being like a supermarket chain, even the Midlands
Wow.
Co-op, and again, that was the other thing that just sort of got us realizing, hey, retailers even want our products on the shelves. So we did everything we needed to kind of get retail ready. And then following that, it was kind of about getting our own commercial unit, really, so we can get all the food safety certifications in place to supply the bigger retailers.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many things I can talk about over the years, but yeah, amazing kind of, as I say, signals, shall we say, that, hey, this could be bigger than just a small kitchen table idea.
Completely. And when you went to the Good Food Show, were you still doing it in your home at your kitchen table?
For the first year, for that one, yes, we were. In fact, for probably the first couple of years, this was 2015, 2016. And then around that time, we got our own commercial unit.
Did you find that when you started to go out to shows, you got the feedback that you got from your customers was useful, like market research wise?
I mean, it was essential. And not only was I doing it there, once we did the BBC Good Food Show, I then decided to do farmers markets up north.
Yep.
And there's an incredible one, which was sort of growing at the time called Altrincham Market in a quite affluent part of South Manchester. And Altrincham in the end market won like loads of awards and stuff. But that was a real test bed for me. So that was, it was a really hard slog at the time, but I loved every second of it. Going on weekends, selling our products, refining our range, really understanding what people wanted, which spices in particular, what sort of flavors, like how hot they wanted it. But just navigating all of that, I think, yeah, the research I got from, yes, the BBC, the big shows, though they're quite overwhelming and, they're very Christmas sales heavy. So you probably don't get that as much chance to talk to customers. but talking to people weekly at Ultra Market and building up long-term customers, where you've got a lot more time to talk to people and discuss what they were cooking and how it's helped them, and how it's helped them sort of get out of a cooking rut almost, and create some wonderful family dishes that they've maybe made in the last week. And I'm teaching them how to make curries through just talking to them, sort of thing. Yeah, that was invaluable, really invaluable. And I think when you start to kind of again build longer term customers who you build a relationship with, and you really understand how you're improving their life essentially, or the lives of the people that they're gifting our products to, then you start to really understand what maybe the initial vision of the business is, and where the real value that you're adding to the lives of the people you're serving, or the world in general, maybe on a bigger scale.
Absolutely, because I think that, cooking can be really overwhelming if you know the kind of dishes that you make day in, day out that are pretty easy and straightforward, you do get stuck in that rut. And I think that when you're looking at, food from different countries, people are worried about too much spice or this and that, and it's quite difficult to navigate that. And then you go to the supermarket and you're just overwhelmed by all the different things on the shelves, and you've no idea which one to pick. So I think it's really good that it's not just the products in the tin, there's that kind of education piece as well.
Definitely. I mean, cooking can be quite scary, and it is scary. And, especially people are worried about health and nutrition these days. And home cooking isn't easy, certainly if you haven't grown up around sort of a family who cook a lot, and, you haven't been taught from parents and so on. And spices in particular can be really scary, especially because some of them do have a lot of salt in, a lot of chili. And if you add too much, then it will make your food, um, pretty unpalatable. But at the same time, spices are incredible. They're so easy to use. They add immediately, impact a flavor into your dishes. They can really make food really exciting and flavorsome. And with a bit of knowledge and a bit of steer and a bit of experimentation, really, and a bit
Mm.
of confidence, I think they can be transformative in terms of home cooking. And you know obviously for people like myself, from our culture, Indian culture, it's kind of, and Mexican culture, and cultures around the world, spices are synonymous with that food. And whereas in other parts of the world they can be a bit scary and people haven't grown up amongst them. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really pleased when we hear from customers, especially those who have never really cooked before or haven't been very adventurous, and through our products have suddenly become much more versatile cooks, and much more adventurous, and they have been transformative. um there's nothing more valuable than that for us as a business, and it's probably what keeps us going and has driven us further over the last 12, 13 years. So
And I think they're really, really good points. And having it all kind of in this tin, I know you've obviously diversified the range now, which I'm excited to talk to you about as well. But when you got approached by the supermarket, was that a kind of, "Oh, wow, this is amazing, we've made it," or a, "Oh my God, this is a lot to process"? How did you sort of, because going from sort of scaling your business slightly, even if you have a kind of big rush on, going direct to the consumer is kind of a slower approach. Whereas when you've got to supply a supermarket, the order numbers are just a completely different animal, aren't they?
yeah, I mean, we were very naive at the time. We got approached by the Co-op group, which had 80 stores in the Midlands. It was the Midlands Co-op, so the Co-op has regional groups. And we were approached by somebody who'd seen our products or maybe met us at the BBC Good Food and said, look, this would be perfect for us. So the first thing, me and mum are so opportunistic, and it's probably one of the reasons for our success. Anytime an opportunity has been presented in any sort of shape or form, be it marketing or PR or to sell or to meet people, we've taken it. And my initial sort of thought was, oh yes, definitely, whatever you need, we can do it. This is really exciting.
Mm.
And me and mum were jumping around thinking this is incredible. But it was probably the first opportunity as well that we realized we just couldn't actually do it, because they didn't know much about our business. And actually, when they approached us, they possibly didn't realize we were a kitchen table idea.
Sure.
But in order to supply the supermarkets and be retail ready, you've got to have your own premises. You've got to have all the food safety certifications. You've got to have barcodes. You've got to have retail ready packaging. I mean, there's a whole heap of stuff that you need, and we literally had none. So when I initially looked at all the compliance forms, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get a picture. And I didn't know any of this at the time. Obviously, hindsight, now where we are, I could foresee that all. but yeah, we had a difficult decision for the first time ever to say, look, I'm really sorry, but we're just simply not retail ready. We can't, fulfill any of your compliance. But give us a year and we'll be back in touch. And so that's kind of what I did. So then it kind of planted the seed. I said to mum, look, we've just got to get retail ready, and we've got to look at also trade shows and actually how we grow our products on the wholesale side, because there could be loads of retailers out there who want to stock our products, and it's another channel to get into consumers' hands. And that's simply exactly what we did. We just got retail ready. We started to use our first branding agency to sort of create our first brand almost, start
Mm.
to look at packaging, which was a bit of a disaster. Probably the thing we still got wrong at the time. But then I did book 3 or 4, 5 trade shows on the back of recommendations from other food gift brands and other food brands. And again, they really gave us the understanding and the confidence, and our first actual smaller independent retailers who then started stocking our products and selling and giving us feedback, and that was invaluable. And kind of again lay the foundations for us growing our kind of retail arm of the business, or supplying retailer, shall I say, to where we are now.
What was your background? I should have asked this at the start, really. What was your background before this? Did you have a background in selling direct to consumer, selling to trade, or anything like that?
Oh no, not at all. So my parents had a retail shop in Birmingham, and they were self-employed for 40 years. And so I ran that business with them growing up through my teenage years, up to when I kind of left school at 18 and went to uni. So I did have experience in being a shopkeeper, so to speak,
Mm.
and selling products to customers and customer service and everything. And I think a lot of those skills that my parents had and I had have been transferred into this business. But since graduating, and also sales, I mean, it was definitely a shop, so we were definitely involved in sales, all 3 of us, and they
Yeah.
taught me how to sell. But then after graduating, I went into recruitment, so some transferable skills, but not the same at all. And recruitment's very much about, it has got a sales element, but also building relationships with your clients, so to speak, and candidates. And I used to recruit at quite a senior level, sort of nationally, really. So yeah, that was a really good foothold and gave me loads of skills, but nothing similar at all to kind of what we're doing at Spice Kitchen to an extent. I think the only area that it transfers in is building those really long-standing relationships with our retailers,
Mm.
um, which we've got really close relationships with, and similar to what I had in recruitment, which was great. So yeah, coming into Spice Kitchen and growing it from e-commerce through to manufacturing through to marketing, in fact, everything we're doing here has got no synergies at all. So we're breaking ice, shall we say, every day, and still are.
But then what I've kind of got from obviously listening to you at Theo's event and now is that your mindset is very much, I don't know how to do it now, but I'll find a way. It's a very good like growth mindset, which I imagine it has really come over from everything you've done to date.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm probably the sort of person who's never going to let anything stop me. So
Mm.
I think that's like an entrepreneurial thing, possibly. But every day is problem solving. The whole thing of running a business is problem solving. So if you're going to let problems stop you or stress you out too much, then I don't think you should be running a business. But like all business owners, it's just problem solving, and most of the problems you face, you've just never encountered before, and it's all about trying to solve them as quickly, efficiently, and I guess at a lower cost as possible. And if you've got really good relationships with other brands or other businesses or people who can help you out, and you're not afraid to pick up the phone and try and work out the answer, then that will stand you in really good stead. Or you can obviously spend hours googling and trawling through research, which certainly isn't my way of solving things. But yeah, we've always had that mindset, and me and my mum are very driven, and always, as I mentioned, wanted to take every opportunity as it came and respond to any demand that we got from the external market where we could take it. And that's kind of really led us to where we are now. And even now we're taking really big opportunities. We've seen a glimmer that we've launched in the US in a small way, and we just feel
Wow.
like that's a really big opportunity for us. So we've just been out to the US early this year, and we've just booked our first trade show, which is a really big expense in New York in June.
Mm.
And that's just a whole, again, it's like starting again almost, because we don't really have a customer base out there. But for us, it's like the most exciting opportunity we could do. And it's a big investment, but you know, it could fall flat on its face. It may not, but if we don't take this opportunity that's in front of us, we'll never know. So better to find out and fail than not try at all, sort of thing.
Completely. But I think that a lot of, what holds people back in starting businesses, developing businesses is their fear of what they don't know. And I think what you said about just picking up the phone, so many people feel like they're meant to know everything and no one does. And also saying yes to things, even though you are just a little bit terrified. I mean, you said about Theo's event, you had imposter syndrome and all these things going on, but you still said yes. So what makes you say yes when other people would go, you know what, I cannot do that. That's just not in my comfort zone at all.
It's a good question. I think that's probably quite a personal thing. And there's probably an element of being a bit of it's almost like an adrenaline junkie, really. I think you probably get a bit, as much as you are scared of something, it gives you a bit of a buzz. It's like going on a roller coaster or something. So, or doing bungee jumps and all those crazy things that I did in my youth, shall we say. But yeah, I think you've got to be a bit mad and a bit of an adrenaline junkie. But at the same time, I'm excited to see what would come of it, I think.
Yeah,
And I'm one of those people who would just absolutely kick myself if I didn't do it, because you'd have that, it's that fear of missing out. I think some people have FOMO in a kind of small way, and other people have it in a big way. And I'm always got massive FOMO. There's a trade show going on in Belgium, which I've done a couple of times, and I've been asked a million times to go there and do it. Um, and I've seen all the brands there. We've got a distributor over there, so there wasn't really any point in me going. But for the last 3-4 days, I've had pictures coming in nearly every hour saying, "Sanjay, why aren't you here? You're missing out. We're having really good fun. We're winning retailers. We're in the pub," and I've just got major FOMO. So
next
I
year.
think it's yeah, I think it's just things like that, really. But yeah, I think it's more about not only taking those opportunities when they come, but also really excited to see what can come of any of these things. And there's always stuff to come from it, be it on a personal level or a business level or a networking level. And the Theo event is a really good example of so many positive things have come from it. But again, like I've said before, if you don't try or if you don't do these things, you'll never know. And you've literally got nothing to lose. I think where there's literally nothing to lose, then you can't say no. And
Completely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if it's a bit of a damaged ego, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I've got kids and a dog. My ego gets damaged every day when they do crazy things. So, but I think sometimes people do sort of amplify the risk. And you think, well, if you just look a bit of a fool if it goes wrong, or you feel you look a bit of a fool, that's not really a risk that's worth sacrificing a potentially amazing opportunity for. If it's,
Exa-
sorry.
exactly.
So if it's an amount of money that would bankrupt you, that's a different proposition. But a lot of the opportunities we get are, yeah, let's give this a go. We could afford it if it didn't go well, whether it's financial or it's an ego thing.
No, it's exactly that. I mean, talking about the bankrupt risk thing as well, we've loved running this business, and it's still a small business. We could have pursued opportunities with going back to the co-op or other supermarkets, but actually that's again something we decided not to do. And that's exactly for the reason you mentioned. There's really big opportunities with supermarkets, clearly, in the grocery sector. And that could have been a direction we took the business, but the risk is so high and we love running the business so much, and it's very much a passion project. We've just decided we didn't want to take that risk, and we wanted to stay much more focused on the independents who we love. And that's our space, and that's our sort of comfortable space, really. Whereas the supermarkets could really give us massive growth, but also brings real risk.
Mm,
And if those supermarkets then pull out or we change our operation to serve them, it could kill the business. So it just was a step that we just never wanted to take, and still don't at this stage, which is
mm,
really interesting. But yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. And I speak to a lot of other small business owners, and it is all about kind of the fear that holds people back often, and
mm,
barriers that people put in their own minds, actually, that stops them making certain decisions. And also, yeah, this fear of sort of rejection. Certainly, I help a lot of small businesses where they're trying to get their products into retailers, and often the barriers as to why they're not approaching retailers or walking into their local gift shop or farm shop or whichever shop they're trying to sell into, What happens if they turn around and say, get out, why are you in here, don't show us your products? But in fact, that's never going to happen. All these small independent retailers love being approached in some ways and will always be very forthcoming if you show them products. So yeah, often it's the brand's sort of perception and own fears that hold them back rather than the reality of the situation. So yeah.
I always say to clients as well, if you ask something and someone says no or they ignore you, like if you email them, that you're still exactly where you are now, aren't you? You're no worse off. If they say no, if you are polite and courteous and respect them in your approach, it could be a no for now, but you still made a good contact. But also, you're still no further back than you were when you started.
Exactly. And also you're learning. So, you know, selling and doing whatever all of we doing is, you learn as much from the rejections as you do from the people who you win, and it's a numbers game sometimes. Sometimes you got to take, in order to get one retailer, you've probably got to approach 10 in the early days. And 9 will tell you, look, this is not right for us. It's not right for our shop. It's not right for our demographic. But that's all giving you really key information as to who is the right demographic and who is the right retailer or whatever that may be. So yeah, you're just refining. And then business is all about, and sales is all about doubling down on what you've done right. So if you get, we get our products into a garden center back in the day and we're thinking, garden centers, why are they selling our products? And suddenly they fly and you realize why that is. And then you start focusing more on garden centers than you did on farm shops or delis. I'm just giving a hypothetical
Yeah.
example. Then suddenly it's given you all that information. So it's all about seeing the trend of where you're winning and then doubling down on all of that, be that from a sales perspective or a marketing perspective. You realize one social media channel suddenly starts working really well for you. You start getting really good engagement. You start even making sales from it. Then you just double down on that and then get rid of TikTok or whatever the other channel is that you've been spending and investing time on, which isn't doing much for the brand at the moment. So
Mm.
yeah.
Now, obviously, since you started, your range has grown and it includes, I was looking on your website earlier, actually, hot chocolate and other delicious drinks and things. So, and cookbooks, all sorts of things. So, how did you start to grow the range beyond the initial tin concept? Did you do market research? How did you decide what to pursue and how to pursue it?
Yeah, I mean, that's been an interesting question. I think it's a number of things. I mean, the core tin, the gifts that we create, sort of the spice tins with the spices in and the sari gift wraps, it's still a very much a big core of our business. And so that's the first thing to mention. But obviously, we've diversified outside of that. We do sell a lot of spices that fill the tins, but also the real key thing that we do well in making delicious spice blends, from garam masala, tandoori masala, through to Mexican jerk seasoning, even Japanese togarashi. So we've got a whole range of blends, and that's my kind of real feeling is blends are the things that a lot of the work is done for you. And getting a Mexican blend, for example, in your kitchen, you can use it in such a diverse way. You don't have to use it just for Mexican cooking also. So yeah, we champion spice blends, and we realize I really believe that they can just add amazing flavor to a wide variety of dishes. And so yeah, that's what we created the whole cookbook concept around, which luckily we got a publishing deal on with a great publisher. And yeah, we just think that's a major success, and we love seeing customers having cooked all the recipes that I've grown up cooking and me and mum have created over the years. um, but yeah, we've done some amazing stuff. So we make amazing mulled wine spices at Christmas time, obviously, that sell to customers all over the world now, actually, and retailers everywhere. We've got really lovely spiced hot chocolates, from a gingerbread one to a chai spiced hot chocolate, which are wildly popular. And yeah, a few other bits and bobs, but that's the core of the range, really. And say, yeah, most of what we do are kind of blends of spices alongside the gift side.
And where do you think that Spice Kitchen will be sort of going in the future? Do you think you'll be adding more and more to your range? Will you be going into different areas? What do you kind of see in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we're still expanding the range slightly. We're going to launch some amazing hampers later on this year with products from other brands, food brands, for people who love cooking. So we'll have like an Indian hamper and a Middle Eastern hamper, and then also ones for key gifting occasions like birthdays, or if somebody's getting a new home, we've got an amazing new home hamper coming.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
really, really exciting. We're obviously, as I mentioned, growing as a business internationally on the retail side, which is extremely exciting. But the other key thing is we're just trying to almost, I guess, pass more knowledge down to our customers. So currently, we've got a generic newsletter that you can sign up for with amazing information on it. But we're going to create a cookery club, or creating one now. So if you buy an Indian tin, for example, you can sign up for a newsletter, which will be for our Indian cookery club. It's all free. And then we're going to give you really good information about how to cook Indian food and how to get the best of that out of that tin, really, and those sets of spices. So hopefully we can just impart more knowledge to our customers and inspire them to create more delicious meals and yeah, some, to kind of bond with friends and family over delicious meals. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Do you think that's a real point of difference for you? Because, you can buy spices at the supermarket, but do you think the educational side and not just saying, "Oh, yeah, buy this tub of something," saying, "This is how you use it," is that what makes you different?
I think so. I mean, giving all of that content and creating all of it, to be honest with you, is tricky because it takes a lot of resource and time. And I would say in the early days, we probably didn't share as much content as I would have liked. Obviously, the cookbook was a big investment for us and has allowed us to do that. But going back, I mean, 4 or 5 years, every single one of our products, our tins, and our collections of spices comes with a free recipe guide. So we always did that. And we have a recipe section online. So yeah, I think that is probably a unique part of it. And I think, I'm not sure what other brands do, but it's a really important part of our brand. But I'm really hoping now, as the business has grown and I've got, a really strong sort of marketing team, and also myself a little bit more freed up to do these sort of things with a great team around me, hopefully me and mum can start to share, and the wider team can share real knowledge, and inspiration, I guess, about how to use these blends creatively. And we're on a bit of a mission, really, because I think a lot of people have bought, say, garam masala. They've cooked a curry once with it or twice, and it's sitting in the back of the cupboard,
Yeah.
getting old and dusty. And I think we really would like, over the next few years, to inspire people to get those out and then cook with that garam masala relatively adventurously, either through basic Indian food, but also experimenting about putting it into other dishes, be it a shepherd's pie or
Mm,
roasting meats with it, or making a nice sort of lovely chickpea curry, or putting it on a salad or something. Like, there's loads of different ways that you can actually use blends creatively without sort of racking your brain about how you could use it in an authentic way, or what you perceive to be authentic.
sure. So thinking of your whole business journey, obviously all business journeys have highs and lows. Is there any, we'll start with a low because then we can go high and then it's all good. Um, have there been any lows on your journey that you've just thought, "Oh, this is hard." And what lessons did you learn from that?
Oh gosh, there's so many. It's just trying to think about which ones we've had. I mean, I'm really pleased to say we haven't had really super lows, and financially we've been quite lean in terms of the way we've worked. We've reinvested every penny back into the business, which has really served us well. I remember, though, we got our packaging horribly wrong. I booked my first trade shows in 2016, 2017, and I booked 3 or 4 at the time. We had sort of got our packaging retail ready with barcodes and food safety, and got our first commercial unit. But the packaging that was going around our tins, I decided to buy a printer and then print sort of stickers almost, or kind of packaging on a home printer for the products,
Right.
which was definitely better than what we had before. We got into loads of retailers, we sold loads at the shows, but the products just weren't selling off the shelf, and we couldn't kind of work out why. And actually, probably none of our independents also knew or were brave enough to tell us, because they probably loved us, and the fact that we're a small business didn't want to offend us. But I remember, probably, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months later, somebody came up to me, and I actually can't remember who it was, said, "Your packaging is absolutely terrible. You've got a lovely premium product with beautiful fresh spices, lovely sari wrap, and then you're printing the packaging on a home printer, and packaging is so crucial." Said, "You need a brand, and you need packaging that's going to be as reflective of how high quality the product is itself, and the reason it's not selling is because of packaging." And it was almost like a penny had dropped. I think initially I was a bit insulted, for 5 minutes, and then I realized actually this person was speaking the truth. And that was quite a hard moment, because then I realized, one, oh gosh, we spent all this time and effort and energy and cost getting into these retailers, and we could have blown it here. And gosh, why didn't I see this a year ago? You almost feel a bit stupid, really. But then again, unlike anything, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off. We got our first branding agency. I got a bit of funding actually at the time, which was great. And then we went down a perfect process of getting stunning packaging at the time, with all foiling on it. And it just flew then. Products
Brilliant.
just started flying off the shelf, and that investment was great. And actually, we've just rebranded again last year with another agency. And that was, having done it before, I knew it was the right time to invest in all of that. And again, these sort of things is amazing because they're always quite costly things to do, but you get the money back, you get the return so fast. I mean, I reckon we got the return on a very big investment last year within about 4 weeks, which was crazy.
Wow.
And we got the investment back last time almost instantaneously because our products weren't selling and suddenly they were.
Wow.
So yeah, I think there's definitely a lesson to be learned there about investing in the right packaging and the right designer. Don't try and do these things yourself if you're not a graphic designer, or a branding person. And these things are investments, but they pay dividends very quickly.
Definitely. And what would you say has been a standout high on your journey?
Oh gosh, so many highs. I think getting our products, well, I think customer feedback generally, and it's still, we had one of the best emails we got back ever actually today. They, they said, long may your spices be tickling our taste buds or something. It was just a perfectly
Oh,
written
wow.
email. But yeah, the customer feedback that we constantly get, through Trustpilot and all these various means and emails is incredible. Certainly in January after Christmas, where we get loads of people saying this is the best thing we received, and loads of pictures and images. So I think that customer feedback has always filled us with highs every day. I think getting our products into shelves and seeing our products on shelves was really, really exciting and always been exciting. And that's not only in the UK, but also in the Middle East. And, we're starting to work with US retailers, which is just extremely exciting. We went on the Hairy Bikers back in 2015,
Oh,
which
wow.
was an amazing experience. We were still a business from home back then, when they did the film, and that was just an amazing experience, and sort of helped us realize the power of media and those sort of things. I mean, we were really humbled to be approached, and it took me about 6 months to convince my mum to do it, but I got her there, and it was a really, really great moment.
Are they as lovely
Um,
as they seem?
they're amazing, really, really lovely guys. I met Sai at the BBC Good Food Show last year, actually,
Oh,
and he
lovely.
remembered us from the filming all those years ago, and obviously super sad to hear about Dave's passing recently.
Very sad,
um,
yeah.
but um but yeah, moments like that, and then yeah, even speaking and being asked, the humbling experience of being asked to talk about our experience, even on podcasts like this, through to face-to-face events, for me, it's just really exciting and really humbling, actually. And again, if we can help other small businesses in any way, and I'm on the phone regularly to other smaller businesses, some of those through the SBS community and further afield, then I'm always happy to help, because we had people help us along our journey. So it's always good to give back.
Definitely. And the last question I'm going to ask you before I ask all the places we can find you online is, are there any sort of nuggets of advice you'd give to people either thinking of starting a small business or who are feeling a bit stuck in their small business?
I think if you think about starting a small business, you've got to start from a place of passion. I think that's key. We're still really passionate about what we do because we love food and we love cooking and we love spices. So I think passion is really, really important, and has served us really, really well. I think, as we talked about before, you don't have to start in a really big way with loads of investment, depending on what you're doing. If it's a craft business or if you're physically making products, you can do it in a small way and you can sell it to people in a farmer's market or somewhere quite small, and kind of get that feedback. So I think that's important. I think these days there's always a bit of a rush. We've taken our time over the last 10 years, and I think people are always in a bit of a rush, certainly more now than ever, in terms of, oh, you've got to grow quickly, you've got to grow to a certain size. But I think you've got to do the business for what you want from it. Like, if you want to have staff and if you want to expand and if you want to work in retail with retailers and all those things. You don't have to do all those things. You can run amazing businesses on a small scale, as well as if you've got the propensity to grow and you want and desire to do that, then you can do that also. But also, there's not necessarily always a big rush to do everything. So I think taking your time sometimes is a good thing, and other times, you want to probably accelerate your growth for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, don't, like we talked about before, just don't let fear hold you back. I think fear holds a lot of people back doing a lot of things, maybe, and I'm not totally sure why sometimes, though I do know why. But fear can kill you and can stop you doing those things, and starting a business and then taking opportunities when they present themselves. So I think you've just got to go for it sometimes. And again, you don't have to, remortgage your house to kind of do all of these things. You can do it in a small way, but you've just got to go for it. And yeah, you never know what's around the corner and what opportunities are out there.
Brilliant advice. Love all of that. So before I let you go, can you tell us all the places we can find you online? So that's through social and your website and everything like that.
Yeah, so the website's spicekitchenuk.com. That's probably the best place to look for our products and look for recipes and inspiration and everything we do. We do use Instagram a lot, so it's Spice Kitchen UK on Instagram, and we're on Facebook with Spice Kitchen UK also. You should find our products in in amazing shops around the country as well, from Selfridges and John Lewis all the way down to smaller, independent, wonderful gift shops and farm shops and delis and so on. So yeah, we'd love to know if you see our products in your shops near you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so, so much for joining us today, Sanjay. It's been amazing. And I think I need to get a lot more adventurous with my cookery. So I will definitely be investing in some Spice Kitchen. It looks brilliant. And thank you for sharing so much as well. I think whether someone's listening who's in a food business or just any business, there's so many really good takeaways there that people can apply. The main one being just flip and do it. Don't let fear hold you back. Start small, scale up, but don't let fear stop you doing what you want to achieve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.